Now, the court's judgment makes clear that the processes followed by Council Speaker Cope's Colleen Makubele leading up to that motion of no confidence were invalid. So is this judgment, as the Democratic Alliance claims, a victory for the rule of law at local government level? To answer that question, we're joined by local governance expert, director of the Dr Mpho Institute at the University of the Western Cape, Professor Jaap de Visser. Professor, good evening to you. Thanks for joining us. The Speaker is supposed to be impartial. In this case, she has now been ordered to pay the costs of this application. How important is the judgment in defining that role of the Speaker going forward?
Good evening, Melanie, and thanks for having me. Yes, I think Dr. Phalatse won pretty much on all fronts. The arguments of the Speaker, there wasn't much left of that at the end of the judgment. And there's about 3 or 4 points that stand out. One is the city itself has rules for running council meetings and placing motions of no confidence on the agenda, and those rules were not followed. I'll spare you the details, but the court was quite emphatic in saying those rules were not followed. Secondly, the council has a schedule of meetings, and this was an extraordinary meeting called with about 20 hours notice. And the court said that's not reasonable. You can't expect the mayor and other councils to prepare in 20 hours for that meeting. Most of it is nighttime in any event. And there was no explanation given for that urgency. It was all done in great haste. And then the meeting itself, the DA attended the meeting, but under protest. And their protest was in the form of not signing the attendance register, which perhaps was not the smartest move. But the Speaker then used that as an excuse to ignore the DA altogether. They could not speak, they could not vote, they were basically ignored in the whole meeting, and the court said that's not right. You can't do that even when councils don't sign the attendance register. And most importantly, the Speaker came to quite a firm, or the court came to quite a firm conclusion. And this is where the coalition politics, I think, is put under the spotlight by the court in saying the Speaker acted with an ulterior motive. She was supposed to be impartial, but she was bulldozing this motion through, ignoring all the rules that applied. And probably she was doing so basically to sing for her supper. It was her first day in office. And normally your first day in office, you take it easy and you ask some questions, but not this Speaker. She went ahead. And basically ignored all the processes that applied to this procedure and obviously found the court in her way.
And as the judge said, there will still be skirmishes and battles ahead. But Professor, thank you so much for giving us some clarity there about the court's decision. Professor of Public Law and Director of the Dr Mpho Institute, Professor Jaap de Visser, thanks so much for joining us.